One NBA player almost died.
LeBronJames.
Another one was told he could never play basketball again.
I'm just glad that it's finally come to an end.
These are the saddest moments in NBA history. And first, we have to talk about the NBA player that died on an NBA court. This is Reggie Lewis. He played in the NBA on the Boston Celtics for 6 years, and he was the best player on the Celtics, and one of the best young players in the entire NBA, averaging over 20 points, and being a first-time All-Star at just 26 years old. But all this would come to an end when he was 27 years old, because not only would he lose his basketball career, but he would lose his life as well. It all started on April 9th, 1993. The Celtics were matched up against the Charlotte Hornets in the playoffs in Game 1, when in the middle of the game, Reggie collapsed onto the court. He remained on the ground for several seconds, in one of the scariest NBA moments ever. He was able to get up shortly after and walked off the court, but sadly this would be his last game ever in the NBA. He was diagnosed with a rare heart condition. Multiple doctors warned Reggie that the heart condition that made him collapse on the floor was not only career-threatening, but life-threatening as well. And if he continued to play basketball, he would be risking his life. Unfortunately, he continued light workouts after receiving a second opinion from another doctor, who didn't think his heart condition was as serious as it was.
The doctors and all the nurses, the care has just been tremendous. I'm just glad that it's finally come to an end.
Well, not even 3 months later, on July 27th, during a private workout, he collapsed again, and bystanders surrounded him. He was gasping for air, and after a few minutes, he stopped breathing. Paramedics rushed to the scene, and he was taken to the hospital at 5:41 p.m. and after almost 2 hours, was pronounced dead at 7:30. His cause of death was cardiac arrest. He was only 27 years old. Now, it doesn't get much sadder than someone losing their life, but this next moment is about when Jamal Murray thought his career was over. Jamal Murray was drafted with the 7th pick in the 2016 NBA draft, and with the help of Nikola Jokic, he took the Nuggets from one of the worst teams in the NBA to one of the best, winning the 2023 NBA Finals. But before he was at the top of the NBA, he had to go through the worst moment in his basketball career. On April 12th, 2021, the Denver Nuggets were up 7 against the Golden State Warriors with only 50 seconds left. The Nuggets had just traded for Aaron Gordon. They were getting ready for a deep playoff run when the absolute worst thing that could have happened.
Murray got hit, and Murray's down and hurt. Oh my goodness.
I didn't get surgery till like a week, 2 weeks later. It was so much pain. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't roll over. It was throbbing, just miserable.
Jamal was in severe pain and in one of the lowest points in his life, and without their star point guard, the Nuggets got swept by the Suns. Jamal would miss the entire next year, and the same exact thing would happen again. The Nuggets stood no chance without Jamal Murray, lost to the Warriors in 5 games in the first round. But finally, after 539 days, Jamal was finally ready to make his return. After not playing for almost 2 years, Jamal was slowly getting used to NBA action, scoring 12 points in his first game, and working his way back up to dropping his season-high 41 points. And when the playoffs rolled around, Jamal took his game to a whole nother level, beating the Wolves in 5 games, beating the Suns in 6, and destroying the Lakers in only 4 games. Moving on to the NBA Finals, and winning the first championship in Nuggets history.
It's over. At last, the long wait is over. After 47 years, the Denver Nuggets can finally call themselves NBA champions.
But after all the celebrating was over, we learned the truth about how bad Jamal Murray's injury really was.
His first thought was, man, are you guys going to trade me? And I hugged him. I said, hell no. Like, you're ours. We love you. We're going to help you get back, and you're going to be a better player for it.
Man, from thanking your damaged goods to winning the NBA Finals. And speaking of the NBA Finals, I have the perfect sponsor for today's video. Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is the easiest way to play fantasy sports and the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. With their easy to use mobile app and website, you'll have no problem jumping right into the action. Just pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. And it's just in time for the best time of the year, the NBA Finals. So make sure you pick 2 to 5 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. Get them all right and you can win some serious cash. Come get in on the action today and use my code Jumpshot to claim your special pick and first time deposit offer up to $250 bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy is available in many US states. Check this map to see if your state is eligible. Make the NBA Finals more fun with Underdog Fantasy and make sure you remember to use my code Jumpshot and get those picks in. But getting back to the video, because we have to talk about the moment that changed Dereck Lively's life forever. Dereck Lively was drafted by the Mavericks in 2023 with a 12th overall pick. The huge 7'1" center was a star at Duke and was exactly what the Mavericks needed, and with the help of Kyrie and Luka Doncic, led the Mavericks to the playoffs. But what was supposed to be one of the happiest moments in his life turned into one of the worst. It's on April 12th. Dereck shared with the world that his mom Kathy had lost her battle with cancer. My heart breaks saying goodbye to the most important person in the world to me, my best friend, my superhero, my biggest cheerleader and mom, Kathy Drysdale. Dereck's mom was his role model. She had been going through a tough battle with cancer for the past decade. She was the reason he played basketball in the first place and inspired him to chase his NBA dreams. This all came to its peak on May 18th because the Mavericks were going against the Thunder in Game 6, and if they won, they would advance to the Western Conference Finals. So in the biggest game of his career, Dereck had the best game in his career, dropping 12 points, 15 rebounds, the youngest player in NBA history to grab that many rebounds in a playoff game, and doing everything on defense, helping the Mavericks secure the win and advance to the Western Conference Finals. But then the cameras caught him celebrating with the most important person in his life.
Dereck Lively, tremendous. And as he looks to the sky, you might recall, Dereck lost his mother, Kathy Drysdale, to cancer just a month ago at the age of 53.
Now moving on to our next saddest moment, we have to talk about Bones Hyland and what happened to him would change his life forever. Bones was drafted in 2021. He was on the Nuggets for 3 years before being traded to the LA Clippers. But it's what happened to him before he was in the NBA that would change his life forever. On March 25th, 2018, Bones Hyland had just returned from his basketball game, and while he was in his room, out of nowhere, it quickly filled with black smoke.
March 25th, 2018, I was in a house fire and I had escaped, but I lost my grandmother, my baby brother.
They always on my mind, but they help me go out there when I'm on the court. They help me be relaxed because I always know that they with me.
With nowhere to go, and the fire quickly getting bigger, he had no choice but to jump out the window, which ended up tearing his patellar tendon, an injury that ends most athletes' careers. Even with the injury, he was still lucky he made it out with his life, but his grandma and 11-month-old brother weren't so lucky.
On my shoulder, I got my baby brother and my grandmother. That's who I play for.
Losing his grandma and brother, having doctors tell him he will never play basketball again, was the lowest point in Bones' life. But he was going through the most difficult thing anyone could ever imagine that drove him to achieve his dream. After healing from his injury, a year later for his senior season, he averaged 26 points per game and was named Delaware Player of the Year. He committed to play at VCU for 2 years, and in the 2021 NBA Draft, his lifelong dream would finally be achieved, getting drafted 26 overall by the Denver Nuggets. Not only beating the odds of making the NBA, but doing the impossible, overcoming a career-ending injury, almost losing his life, and losing 2 people that meant everything to him.
That's just been my why and my joy and my passion. The reason why I go so hard and wanting to wake up every day with a smile on my face, because I'm not supposed to be here right now. Like, I was 0.2 seconds away from not being here, so I have every reason to smile.
But Bones Hyland wasn't the only player who had a career-ending injury. Jeremy Lin played in the NBA for 9 years. He was undrafted and almost was never in the NBA to begin with. He started his career on the Golden State Warriors in 2010, barely getting any playing time, and then cut before the season even began. The Rockets signed him right after, but it didn't last very long before they also cut him. That was when he found his way onto the Knicks. And then on February 4th, because the Knicks had 2 point guards injured, Jeremy had the chance to go into his first NBA game, and he did not disappoint, dropping 25 points off the bench. In the next 4 games, he broke the NBA record for the most points in his first 4 career starts, with 109. But this was just the beginning for Lin's sanity. He graced the cover of Sports Illustrated, hit the game winner against the Raptors, and dropped 38 on Kobe's Lakers. Jeremy Lin was officially a household name, making global headlines. But after being on top of the world, it would only start getting worse for Linsanity. The next season, he didn't re-sign with the Knicks, instead went to the Houston Rockets. And after his time with the Rockets, he would start bouncing around the NBA, going from the Lakers to the Hornets, then ending up on the Brooklyn Nets, where he would have his best season yet at 28 years old, averaging 14.5 points. But it was the very next year on opening day in the NBA. The Nets were playing the Indiana Pacers, and Jeremy Lin started the season just like he wanted to, already having 18 points. But it only took one play to have his career change forever.
I came down the lane and I turned.
Lin goes down hard. You could hear the bang as he hit the floor.
Like someone banged knees with me midair, and I looked at the replay and no one touched me.
Just like that, Jeremy's season was over, and he knew it right away. After a long rehab process, he came back the next year, but he was never the same. His numbers dropped, and he would be shipped off to Atlanta, and then end his career on the Toronto Raptors. The same injury as Bones Highland, tearing his patellar tendon at 29 years old, had him out of the NBA by the very next year. From gracing the cover of Sports Illustrated to out of the NBA only 7 years later. But at least Jeremy Lin got his career started in the NBA. Some players like Isaiah Austin never even got a chance to start their careers. Out of high school, Austin was ranked by ESPN as the #3 recruit in the country, and after his high school career was over, he decided to attend Baylor University. As a freshman in college, Austin was named to the All-Big 12 third team and the Big 12 All-Rookie team, averaging 13 points per game, 8.3 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks. After being one of the best freshmen in the country, he declared for the NBA draft, but ultimately returned to Baylor as he suffered a shoulder injury that lowered his draft stock. In his sophomore season, Austin picked up where he left off, almost doubling his blocks per game, getting up to 3.1, to go along with 11.2 points per game and 5.5 rebounds. Finally, after having to wait another year before his lifelong dream of being drafted in the NBA would come true, it was finally time to hear his name be called. But just days before his dream would become reality, he received the worst possible news. It was revealed to Austin that he had a medical condition that would keep him from playing in the NBA. He was diagnosed with Marfan syndrome, which is a genetic disorder that changes the proteins that help make healthy connective tissue. Connective tissue is what keeps our bones, muscles, and organs in place. Following this devastating news, it was clear that Austin was never going to play in the NBA. What was supposed to be one of the best days in his life turned into one of the worst. After hearing about this, Commissioner Adam Silver wanted to make sure Austin still had his dream. He may not get to play in the NBA, but the NBA still wanted to make sure his initial dream of hearing his name called came true. So in the 2014 NBA draft, between the 15th and 16th picks, Austin finally heard his name be called. Luckily, Austin was cleared by doctors to play basketball again in 2016, but instead of playing in the NBA, he started his career overseas. He started playing in Serbia in 2017, before playing in various countries over the next few years, including Lebanon and China. He's now retired from basketball and working for the NBA's front office. He never got to live out his NBA dreams, but hearing his name be called will stick with him forever.